wouldn't accept that. But listen, we got both live streams are up right now. So again, this is an experiment to see, does YouTube, because the thought in my head is, if YouTube pushes one more than the other, and we won't know that until we run a couple of different experiments of having them both open at the same time to see what's what, right? And we'll learn one way or another. But like any good experiment, you got to run it again and 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 again. But our main thing that we do. Oh, what's going on from Denmark? Listen, if you guys are new here, subscribe to the channel. That's what we're doing this for. Push, push, push. But we want to talk about a few important things. It's Men's Mental Health Month, and I wouldn't say during the last week, I think my mental health was not the greatest. Where you run full steam ahead sometimes, and eventually you don't take time to rest. You don't take time for yourself. What ends up happening, you ends up crashing out, right? And not in our fun crash out way we like to talk about all the time. You just run into a wall and you get exhausted. You get tired. And then you have to go back and retreat. But when you want to highlight discipline at the same time, what does it mean? You have to also be in it. You also have to be in it. You have to be here. You're doing the work. You're showing up. You're doing all the silly things you promised to do in the beginning, when it'd be easier to just kind of lay down and relax. So I think that becomes one of those points where you don't really get a chance to chill. As much as you may like, as much as you might want to prefer, you don't really get a chance to chill. So we have to start asking questions. And how do you relax? How do you take care of yourself? What do you do to recharge? Is there a mechanism you have in place to help you recharge? Because unfortunately, and depending how you feel about it, what Cam Newton was saying about sympathy and empathy, you can, however you feel about that, often for men, we're left feeling like, no one really is going to come and sit you down. No one's going to come and say, hey, you need to chill, you need to relax, go and sit yourself down somewhere. So it becomes a common point for us to listen to that. And as someone that likes to believe the high achieving, high functioning, not low vibrational, not high vibrational, like the good doctor likes to talk about all the time. Yeah. So we don't want to find ourselves in that position. Yeah. No, we're right here. We're with you. Hello from Moscow. Wow. Wow. That's deep. That's deep. Listen, if you guys are new here, shout out to you guys. Love seeing new faces in here. It means the absolute world. This is what we're doing this for, right? Where we get to talk, we get to learn, we get to see more about each other. Philippines is on my list, right? It's how the animals. That's how, Ashley Charles, that's how you actually relax. That's how you actually feel better about yourself. That's how you recharge. I mean, that's not a bad idea. Whenever we talk about touch and grass, that should be it. You sit back and relax and do something for yourself. I like to read, right? And sometimes, you got your favorite series and you just read to the exclusion of all other things. You're under just chilling, you're just relaxing. And that's all, I'll sit there and do that over and over and over again. And that works for me, right? That really ends up working for me. But we all have our ways, our things that we do, whatever makes sense. Or yeah. So for this month, we should probably try and do that more. Probably try to highlight them more, especially as if you're new to the channel, I try to drop 2 videos a day, 2 shorts a day. And sometimes you get swept up, you get inundated by the topics, by sometimes the callousness. Whenever you start swimming in all this stuff about, okay, you can't, men have to do this, men have to do that, men have to step up. You get to a point you start asking, like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean to me? When you say I got to step up, we're chilling. Yeah. What does that mean? Step up. Someone tell me, help me out. Help me understand what step up means. Because to me, it's like, individually, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help out. I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to make stuff actually make sense. But I'm not responsible if someone across the way, that decides that he wants to do the unthinkable to his family. How does that mean that I have to step up? How do I step up in that? What I've noticed is often what we don't have anything listed. We don't have anything. We have vague sort of guidelines to meet. Say, yo, you got to step up. Okay, how? And when you say how, do what you need to do. Right. But I'm doing what I need to do for my family to make sure my family, my people are better. I think that's stepping up. But when someone else is in their pain and they're crying out for men to say, you need to step up, you need to do better, how? Right? I am doing better. I'm creating spaces where we can talk about real topics, real issues. I step up for my friends, my family, people that know me in real life. They know I'm always there to take care of them, to do what I can to help out, to improve their life. So we end up in a point where it's like, yo, what am I supposed to do here? But again, listen, if you're new here, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, right? That's one of the biggest things we can hope for this channel to push this out further and further. So when people say, yo, you got to step up, we like, yes, this is what we do. We come, we have very real conversations. We talk to each other. We're real about what we've got going on. It's not just for play. It's not just to point fingers and say, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. But some of the videos that I came across today or I made today was one of those where whenever you're trying to talk about, and in line with men's mental health, whenever you're trying to talk about your issue, right? Yeah, I appreciate that, Ashley. Whenever you try to talk about your issue as a man, and I want to preface this as saying on these online spaces, but since we take so much info from these spaces, we can't ignore it. We can't pretend like it's unimportant, or it's a non-factor, it's a non-starter. Yeah. Middle child now. Yeah, okay. So what ends up happening, it ends up feeling like, yo, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Yeah, so what ends up happening, we don't have an opportunity to actually say what we're actually feeling, because it comes back later on as in we did something wrong, or this is wrong, or this is wrong in this some sort of fashion. If we want to talk about and highlight an issue that is specifically for men, like men's mental health, we talk about men's mental health, that conversation can't be co-opted by some other party, some other person. This is what ends up like doing a lot of like a lot of damage, where people feel like, yo, I can't talk to you. I can't have this conversation because no one's really listening. If the issue is me, then what happens later on? If I can't say, hey, for something silly, hey, I'm afraid of the dark. Well, so are other people. Okay. Can we have the conversation where I'm talking about what my issue is right now, rather than it always has to be an inclusive thing for everyone else? We have enough time to talk about everyone's issue. Right? We can get to these issues. We can talk about what's bothering, what's wrong for what's up with women. We could talk what's up with men. We have enough time, enough ways to do this in a way you can be heard, someone else can be heard, someone else can be heard. The conversation never has to be completely co-opted by one side. We don't want to talk about, I see you're going, it's been a little bit of work. I'm a little bit exhausted. Unfortunately for me, I don't rest well, and that's one of my things I'm trying to solve this month. But I get to see my niece tomorrow in New York, so that's phenomenal. How's your evening going? How are you feeling tonight? So when we have to have the ability, yeah, I have my undergrad in forensic psychology. So, and I've always loved the game. I've always loved people. I've always loved listening and looking at people. Phenomenal to me. If I have time, I would like to. Originally, I was going to get I was going to go for a PhD, clinical psych, but life comes in the way, right? And life says, "Yo, you got to step up. You got to be a man. You got to be a man." And then at that point, you got to go and say, "Do this, put that on hold." Unfortunately, that's sometimes how it goes. Women don't care. Get over it. Say empty words. Yeah. Unfortunately, oh, I'm going to my championship in baseball. Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that. Um, I'm from New York. Listen, Bruce, I want the Knicks to win. We need one, right? We need one. San Antonio's been winning forever. Let them chill. Let them chill for a little bit, right? For a little bit. Knicks in five. Okay, but on the other side, free rider, I appreciate that. On the other side, if New York does win, we may burn down the city, right? We may burn down the city. So that's a thing that we should be looking out for. We don't we don't want to find ourselves in that position. Um, again, listen, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, jump in the chat. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create the space. And again, you guys are helping with the experiment. We get to see, if you guys don't know, there's two chats running right now, um, where we're just trying to see which actually makes sense, which one is better. And right now it's it's kind of all over the place. So we're just gonna keep on talking. But so yeah, when we try to talk about men's issues, when we try to have a space where we're just talking about, hey, this is what men are going through, what we end up doing is having that conversation co-opted. You cannot ever feel heard, seen, whatever you need, when the minute you talk about your issue, here it is. Well, these people, it happens to these people too. One of the things I want to point out, whenever I'm talking, on the channel and videos, one of the least favorite ways of actually communicating with anyone is, I don't want to ever say, yeah, but men too, but women too. You've been in those scenarios when someone's trying to explain something to you, and that's the last thing you want to hear. That's the least helpful thing that you can ever hear. Yo, but men do it too. Women do it too. Okay, cool. Right now, we're talking about something specific, and we want to actually speak about that. Rather be a devil. What you mean by that? Right? What you mean by that? Like, expound upon that. Be cool if we had that type of football here in the UK, not just rugby. Yes. Yeah, no, listen. I think Americans do sports fanaticism really well, but the same way we're fanatic about that, you guys are fanatic about, football, to us, soccer, how you guys will go, to great lengths. You form like lifelong friendships through actual the love of the game. So, I mean, that's why we're super excited and worried about hosting FIFA here in the States in what, next week? Next week. I know a couple of different states are hosting a couple of different games. I know Dallas is doing like 9 games. Houston's doing 9 games. New York, I think Atlanta as well. And then the price gouging that's going on. So, yeah, but yeah, it's crazy. It's dope. It's amazing how much you guys. Again, this is what you got to kind of love about men. We could look at each other. We could fight about, you like this, you like the Spurs, I like the Knicks. But at the end of the day, it was like, yo, we saw a good game. I may curse you, you may curse me. I may say things about your mom. I may say things about your mom as well. But we know it's all for the love of the game. That's critical for us. That's what we like. And sometimes when people observe that on the outside, they think we're wild for that. they think we're absolutely wild for that. Yo, how can you be like that? How can you do that? But look, I'm gonna keep saying it, keep reminding it. If you're new here, like the stream, support the channel, subscribe to the channel. This, where we want to create, well, we want to expand, and it's going to be slow going the way it is. We have this idea in 5-10 years, right? In 5-6 years, we're going to get to the spot. But for now, we're just going to sit here and do the work, right? We just do the work. And sometimes that's impromptu live streams where we run tests and see which stream is actually better for growth and such. So again, thank you guys for helping me with this experiment as we see what actually works, what doesn't work. I'll be pouring over data, because who does not love data, right? Challenge, I don't know what you're talking about, but if that's your orientation, that's your orientation. We don't hate over here. So cheese rolling in the UK. Listen, one of the sports I saw, it was one time I was in the UK, and it was the game, the darts, like as you play in the pub, and the excitement behind it, right? They were like 180. It was so like intoxicating. Like, yeah, damn, you guys are really passionate about this. Like, this is phenomenal for us. We don't have stuff like that. We've got the regular degulars. if you could explain cricket to me, that would be absolutely, phenomenal. Data from Star Trek. Like, what about Data? That's an odd odd cut in reference there. But yeah, who doesn't like Data? I did not like his brother. I did not like his brother. If what I'm saying just does not make sense, we're running two streams here, so I'm responding to both chats. Um, yeah, if that doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. But listen, yeah. So you can't really have the conversation when you can't have the conversation. When you don't want to hear, hey, I'm finding this happens when I'm talking with men. This, yeah, but women do it too. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. I think it's a low form of sort of debate where you don't really get anything for it. There's no real effort behind it. Just no, that doesn't really work well. So I like to stay where we can stay on topic. We can talk about each specific issue, and then we can move on. I think that's the best way. Yeah, be like women, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. What I'm saying is when you have a conversation, when you're trying to talk to your significant other about something being wrong, or you're trying to have a conversation amongst other people, and you're explaining that something does not, hey, I don't like it when women do this. Okay, that's your statement. I don't like when women ask for money. That's your statement. You don't want to hear, yo, but men do it too. That doesn't move the needle of the conversation. We have to be able to talk about your issue that you're bringing about, and then we have to be able to talk about the next issue. Rather than trying to do everything at once, it becomes convoluted. I'm talking about one of the responses for Cam Newton saying that black men don't have a place, or men don't have a place where they have any sympathy or empathy for them. We don't have that in our society. So and there's a video I dropped today. She was saying that, okay, yeah, but black women too need empathy. Black women too need this. Yeah, we get that. We have to be able to have multiple conversations. Maybe not at the same time, but one after another so we can actually talk. Um, they're never the problem. Listen, we know the truth, right? And I think part of the issue how we got here, um, part of the issue how we got here is because we often don't want to have that tough conversation where it means we lose access. I don't want to tell her the truth because I don't want her to be mad, and then we got to deal with it. We adopted silly phrases like "happy wife, happy life," rather than saying, "If I got to argue with you, I got to argue with you. I I've got to argue with you. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like life is good just because you're going to be upset if I don't keep up the charade." I think every one of us in that actually likes women, has been with women, we've done that, and we saw exactly how that does not work, exactly how that gets you to the place where you're just miserable. And I think a lot of us refuse to go back to being in a relationship where we were absolutely just miserable. No one wants to have that existence again. No one wants to walk that back. No one wants to think that this is going to be the new norm, how we're supposed to live our lives. A lot of that's just trash. It's awful. It's not for me. I think most of us can completely agree with that. If we have to go back to that, that's why I think most men are just saying, yo, I'm good. Dr. Brian, for example, as long as there's people that say she's not a problem, nothing. Yo, listen. I saw one of these women. Well, Amanda Seales said, "Yo, what's the problem?" Right? Amanda Seales said, "What's the problem?" Because she doesn't have a degree. What's the issue? We know what the issue is. You can't pretend like you not having this degree when you were trading on that is not an issue. That's completely wrong. But yeah, when you give people a pass just because they're a certain gender, yeah, you lose the rest of us with that. That shows like, okay, this is why we can't have this conversation. What I think is a smart move is just we just stop having those conversations with those people. You have to have, think about it like college courses. You have to have prerequisites to talk about certain things. If you're not able to actually have conversations, you're not able to think outside your emotions, we don't talk. Right? Yeah. You can't lose your autonomy and comfort. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's 100%. You cannot lose your autonomy and comfort. The minute that goes, it goes again. And it's almost like you have to hold that line. You have to fight each time over and over again, over and over. in the culture. Yeah, when hold off on an asteroid, right? Hold off on an asteroid. Give it. Let me finish out my run on this planet, and then definitely send it. But the amount of people that's still defending it, and then one thing I saw that was absolutely hilarious to me. Uh, one of the things that for when I got was absolutely hilarious to me when they were saying, besides them saying that it doesn't matter, they're saying how men were fooled and men were the reasons that she got as popular. I'm like, we all were with Corey when this first came out. We were like, this ain't right. Anyone with any type of psychological training, study, anywhere, once you start saying low vibrationals, like that's not in the DSM. You made that up because it sounds good, and then you rolled with it, and the rest of us are supposed to think this actually makes sense. No, we're like, no, that's wrong. That's stupid. But because it's packaged well, because people are primed and ready and ripe to believe a lot of this stuff, then you soak it up. Oh, it's a black woman that looks good. She's shaped well. She's articulate, and then she talks. And then you put her around men that she's more intelligent than, that she talks circles around, until some of them are vulgar enough or straight up enough and said, "No, what about you?" Corey Hogan did that. As much as I don't like Paul Pierce because Celtics, he was flat out and said, "Nah, what about you? How can you talk about this? You never lived this." And then some of that stuff started leaking out. But it wasn't until she went against women and started saying, "Nah, y'all saw the issue." She said, "I meet more healed men than I do women in my practice." Now that sounds great, but now that we know you don't really practice like legitimately, right? What does that mean? But that's when they started digging up the information. That's when they started doing the research to find out, you're not really about this life. This is all fake, right? No, she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal at the packaging, the marketing, and it's still working right now as you're still on these shows. When she had that blow up with Torre, like, why do you have the platform? Power is on the men's way. Yeah, listen, I think you need power, you need respect, you need the respect of your peers, the people like you. But what we're talking about here is once we lean too much in one direction, we kind of find ourselves in this way. For all the power that we have, we end up kowtowing and saying, "I don't want to get upset. I don't want to be unhappy," and then you've got an entire household on pins and needles, rather than have a household that says, "This is what makes sense. This is what we're supposed to do. This is the actual plan." Yeah. So, Shy and Brian, I mean, until we as a sort of culture look and say, I've seen people saying like, "Yo, why are you as a black man?" Was a Czar saying this with Paul Pierce? "Why are you hating on her? Why'd you call her out like that as a black man?" Wrong is wrong, right? Yeah. Yep. Big J, what's going on? How you doing tonight? So, what we always want to see here, right? We want to have that conversation. We don't want to be in a place where it's only a one-sided thing, where it's only, "Hey, I said this and therefore it's true. I said this and therefore this is the only path we got to take." You know, what's it like in your country then, right? In terms of salary, in terms of power, I mean, if we got different people from different places around the world in the chat, let us know what it's actually like for you. How are you? What things do you do to help you relax? And when things aren't going right at home, how do you have those conversations where you can still remain respectful, make sure that what you're saying is actually heard, that someone doesn't just get to talk over you? How do you avoid, put it like this, how do you avoid the happy wife, happy life syndrome that is kind of, buried a lot of us down in our society? I think when we were sort of primed to think as men that our job is to make sure everything is copacetic, everything is happy. But at the same time, we've left off just us being happy ourselves. Whatever reason, we attach masculinity with suffering, with enduring, where you're supposed to just be around, you're supposed to exist, you're supposed to suffer through stuff rather than looking and saying, "Does this make me happy? Do I deserve to be happy? Do I deserve to be actually working towards that goal?" it becomes almost completely impossible to fix this after the fact. After we're running and gunning, how do you bring stuff back to the forefront where it's like, okay, now we get it, now we understand it? It's a difficult thing. It's a difficult notion to sort of hang on to and think this makes sense for us. I'm open to hearing ideas. I think that's got to be one of the biggest things we can do. If you have a solution, we like we want to hear it, especially on the channel. We want to have conversations. We want to, eventually create spaces where, we could probably vet people before, because some people really enjoy crashing out. They really enjoy crashing out, getting on the phone, and then saying, um, saying wild stuff like Sharia law. Um, that's not stuff we might want to have on air, right? So, but we're working on creating. We have created, you know, little program for you to actually come up, have yourself heard, or you're on video. But we're going to create specific actual podcasts for that. Not podcasts, specific videos, specific live streams for that. That's what we want to do. Listen. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't. They don't have those problems. They don't have those problems. They don't. They don't. I want to find something to say. No, you're wrong. But yeah, they don't have those problems. Yeah, but we're not going to go from how we are in the West. We're not going to go over that and adopt that in mass. It's not going to be the thing that happens. Most people just what they're going to say is like, "Yo, I'm just going to leave." Right? That's always an option for people to do. Just leave the States, find better luck somewhere else. For those of you that are familiar with stuff like on YouTube or creators on YouTube, it's an MTR, Media Tutorial Reviews. He just went over to Thailand, and I don't think he's coming back. He's having an absolute time of his life. Actually, what's going on? He's having an absolute time of his life, and that's something kind of you take it because a lot of times when we talk about the passport bros, we make it seem as if these are broke, dusty bums. This guy's a multimillionaire. Right? And he's going over and say, "Yo, I'm just going to go ahead and do my thing." Yeah, I don't want to agree with you, but that's actually how a lot of stuff works. You have to go far left. You have to the pendulum has to swing so far the other way to come back. Just, uh, yeah, no, MTR, he's left. He left. This is Thailand now. He's having a first of all, when he said, I'm done with YouTube, I'm like, oh, really? Like, wow. And then now you're popping up and you're saying he had this piece, and I got to watch the first couple minutes of it. He's saying now, like viscerally, he understands the passport bros, and not just about going out to be a whoremonger. It's about the quality of life, the differences in life when you go outside. So one of the things we always talk about, we always try to make it seem as if it's only the broke dusties that do it, but it's in order for you to travel and travel properly, in order for you to actually consider relocating and creating another life somewhere else, you have to be a person of means. Usually you're a person of means. You have the funds, you have the wherewithal, you have the knowledge. People go out there to become expats. Being expat has been a thing for the longest while. White men have been expats forever. It's only when, the black and brown people started doing it, then it became sort of an issue. But if he's out there and he's saying, no, I get it. I get it. And we have some people doing the YouTube that it comes back 5 days later in a row. Yeah. Listen, when that money is too good, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Hey, you're good. You're good. I can't see a space where things are going that well for you to the point where even if your quality starts to slip on some of your videos, you're still getting hundreds and thousands of views. And then I'll if I had that type of backing, I'm running till the wheels fall off until you hear some the rise and fall, of It Ain't Eze or something like that. To some, oh yeah, he really crashed out. Something wild. But no, you can take all that show on the road. Can we talk about that for a second? Yeah. Melly, yes. That stream that they did and that energy they had together, I was like, yo, yo, right? Yo. Once we don't understand anything, it's their turn to do it. Yo, Third Eye, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. None of that stuff doesn't affect you until it affects you. Right. And you see that a lot of times when you see them be like, when some people dog out, when some black women dog out black men all their life, and then they have a son and they're like, yo, my bad. Yo, my bad. You know, black people, but problems are the same. Yeah, I think it's not a black thing. It's just each race kind of purports it differently. They have different levels of it, wherever you go. But I think it's a societal sort of change thing that's happened. So it's not simply like, I never want to say it's specifically to the black race. Now, this is something where we saw one time, we had a video about a white woman. She said that a white man made her a baby mom, and most of the men on the channel like, yeah, that happens. And you had other people saying, no, white men don't do that. Like, nah, it's more of a man thing than anything. You know, it's more of a man thing than anything else. Before we get upset, before we start, oh no, that's not how it works. Right? It's more of a man thing. But again, listen, if you're new here, like the stream. It's one of the best ways you can support. Subscribe to the channel. That's great. Helps us grow, helps us expand, so we can get to the place where we're like MTR and we have MTR problems. We're have 1 million subscribers, right? That's where we want to get to. But right now, I mean, 1 million is so far in the future. But if we can get the road to 10,000 going, that'll be phenomenal, right? We hit 10,000 sometime next year. We love that. 5,000 before the end of the year. Love that. Right? But what we got to do, we just show up. We just show up and do the work. We show up and do the work. We show up and do the work. Subscriber Sundays is when we have more of the show, more of the entertainment, where people get to talk, laugh, joke, all that good stuff. Where to me, that's more probably the most rewarding, fun thing, where we end up kind of just laughing. But I want to create, not that I have a whole big love of like panel shows, but I want to create a space where people can look forward to it, so they have a place where they can actually talk about whatever specific issue they have. We just have to observe the YouTube guidelines before YouTube says, oh, we're going to strike the channel, shut it down. But if we can create that space and a way to actually properly vet people, we can have discussions laid out. We can be that space where people can literally talk. So whenever people start saying like, what do you do about mental health? Well, we do what we can, right? We do our best. So, and also we could talk about ways where you don't have to end up fumbling, Melly. And then we should get Gilbert. I don't like that. And then they started doing all them, was it Blue Chew commercials or whatever commercial for some ED issue? I was like, damn. I don't know. Does she still even have a podcast? That's a damn shame. But yeah, MTR. But again, at that level of success, you can do it. You do exactly what you want to do, right? You can do exactly what you want to do. No one can come in and say anything about that. We can just look and say, all right, it's all you. It's all you. But listen, we're gonna come back Friday. We're gonna have an actual unlicensed or mail sort of thing back and forth. If you guys want to join in that stream, hit us up in the email. It's in the description, or just catch us. We're gonna do it around 7 p.m. Friday Central Time. Actually, check if the Knicks are playing that day. Then we might have to adjust the times again, because hopefully the Knicks go up, and Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6. Let me check out the game later. For you guys that jumped in, I appreciate you. Thank you for helping them out this little test. We want to see which streams work better, and that's just going to determine how we move forward with a lot of different programming. So, if you're new here, if you have showed up, I really appreciate the help, letting us know, seeing what actually works, what does not work. So for that, guys, thank you. And shout out to the actual moderator, admin cast, whatever nonsense was just said over there. So for those that I'll probably talk to later, and the rest of you guys, hopefully I see you in another stream.